today we're going to go over degreasing your plate, putting a hard ground down, etching some lines, and giving yourself a proof. We're going to need degreasing solution, whiting, some soft shop towels, and a copper plate. First, again, we need go over to a sink, and we're going to use 3 different towels. And what we're going to also need is your whiting, calcium carbonate, and degreasing solution, which is made out of salt and white vinegar, and our copper plate that we need to degrease. Before putting a hard ground down, if we were to just put a hard ground down, some of that grease may affect our line work, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to take our first dedicated towel and get it wet, and wet the plate as well. And we're going to use a 1/4 teaspoon, it's a small plate, of whiting, and we'll put that in the middle of the plate. And with our wet, soft towel, we're going to create a paste, and we're going to move it back and forth over the plate. And what this is going to do is get rid of some of that oily fingerprints and stuff that could affect our work. And you can do that from both sides of your plate. After rinsing it off thoroughly, we're going to move on to our second step, which is using the degreasing solution. And we're going to use a dedicated towel for that too. We don't want to mix these things up. We just want to keep them separate. So spray a generous amount of the degreasing solution over the plate and move that around with your dedicated towel. This is really going to start, you can start seeing it shine up the plate. Again, we're going to rinse that off with water as well. And we're going to repeat these steps until it has the sheeting effect, whereas if you put it under the water, it doesn't really bond, it just kind of runs off. So we don't want any sticky moments on it. So we're just going to repeat with the water and the whiting. You always want to end on the water and whiting though, because if you left on the vinegar or the degreasing solution, it can tarnish your plate. So now we're going to take our clean paper towel and dry off any of the wet plate, and you can see that it's really bright now and degreased and ready for the next step, which is putting the hard ground down. We're going to need, I love Charbonnel Ball Hard Ground. It works really well, and we have a dedicated roller to go with it. So we now have our clean and degreased plate on the hot plate, and we're going to allow it to, we got a sheet of newsprint underneath it, we're letting it warm up. And so we're going to dab the hard ground onto the plate. Alright, and then we're going to take our dedicated roller, and I like to start off with short, choppy steps. What's it doing is we're warming up the roller as well, and we're putting down a lot of ground. But then after I get a good coverage with the thick ground, I'm going to use a lighter touch and snap it, which means I'm going to go a little bit quicker, and what it's going to do is pick up all the thick stuff. There's a point where you don't want to fuss with it and you let it be. But I'm very happy with the ground here. So we're going to let that cool down to plate warm before the next step of smoking the plate. So now we have suspended it in our holder, and we have our wax tapers, and I have foil so it doesn't drip wax on me, and I'm running it back and forth. And do it very slow. Be careful about the candle. You don't want it to make contact with or scratch the ground that we have down there. And as you're doing this, it almost looks like liquid ground. It just becomes this hard, really nice surface. If there were any openings on the plate, it'll seal it up because of the carbon. And so, as you can see, it looks really nice and dense. And that's what we want. So we're going to put out the candle now carefully. Any water, any source like that. And let it cool before you touch it. Alright, now we're going to transfer image. I've created kind of a little registration system with mat board pieces, or you could use tape. and I can slide my plate into place. And over here we have a tracing paper, and I taped my drawing to it so you can see it, and then that way it lines up directly to the plate, and I have it hinged with a little piece of masking tape. On the other side, I have hinged my transfer paper. This is just iron oxide that I rubbed on a towel, but you can use the Syrah paper as well. I would recommend yellow or white. This also, the registration system, allows us to take out the plate and put it back in place if we need to take it out for some strange, bizarre reason. I hope you don't have to do that, but maybe it's but if you have to, there you go. So the transfer paper is going to go underneath, our drawing is going to go on top. Because of the curled kind of nature of my transfer paper, I'm going to tape that part down. And now you can see I've slid my drawing that I want to transfer down and get the work down. Nice Hogarth image. And then with a firm pen, and you don't have to press very hard, it'll transfer just enough of the iron oxide down that later on when we use our etching needle, we know where our shapes are. See? You can see it clearly. One thing I want to stress though, I wouldn't transfer all the information from this drawing down to the plate. You will drive yourself crazy trying to scratch through it all. I just like to transfer down shapes. So it gives me the ability to draw into those shapes. And again, you can kind of see where things are going here. My system allows you to kind of be able to peek at it and check your progress. Sometimes even if you draw like a red ballpoint pen on it when you're transferring it, you can kind of see where things are. Then the next step is drawing all the information on the plate, and you're going to be using your etching needle. And again, that's the reason I'd suggest shapes. And here we are after etching and everything else has been done, and we're running a proof. Now, if you ever need to add more line work to your plate, you can actually repeat these steps and get another hard ground and smoke the plate, and you'll be able to see all your old information and draw back on top of it. So you can build it up much like you can any other drawing. And here's the results we have right now. This is all just done with line work. Our next step down the road would probably be some aquatint. Thank you.